Hi guys, welcome back to CarBuyer.com.sg. Today we're going to review the new Toyota Harrier Hybrid. We're going to find out if it's still a Lexus for less money. Okay, so first off, let's introduce the Harrier. Harrier is a mid-sized SUV from Toyota. If you're wondering, hey, doesn't Toyota already have a mid-sized SUV? Yes, that is the Toyota RAV4. And the Harrier is the more slinky, cooler, coupe-like SUV offering compared to the RAV4, which explains why it's been more popular than its counterpart in the past decade or so. Okay, so the Harrier, 4th gen Harrier, totally new for this year, running on the new TNGA platform as well, all new car for this year. And what we really want to find out is whether or not it's a Lexus for less money, and that's because the first two generations of Harrier were actually basically Lexus RXs with a different badge. I'm sure you guys might have remembered. People here used to buy those cars and then put a Lexus badge on the front. But what's interesting about this new 4th generation version is that it's offered for the first time officially as a hybrid model, and that's the model we're driving here. So just to get this out of the way, we are driving the top spec version in this video. That's the hybrid luxury version available from Borneo Motors, the official distributor of Toyota here. And the less expensive 2-liter non-hybrid starts at about 150-ish. We have the pricing details and everything in our news story on CarBuyer.com.sg, so check that out for the full skinny before you proceed. Alright, we mentioned one of the reasons for the Harrier's relative popularity is the styling, and you can see that Toyota here has doubled down on the coupe influence styling. So look at the front end, very sharp front end. You see the two bonnet kind of strakes pointing towards the front, and below that are the very nice LED headlights. Full LED headlights, and we still have that kind of a Harrier signature. I don't know what this is, like a plastic face plate of sorts, and of course the blue Toyota badge indicating a hybrid model. Step back and we look at the car. It looks really quite nice. The coupe influence is very obvious from the side, so let's look at the side and check out the nose there, how that kind of points towards the front. The headlights very sharp, the windscreen very raked. We'll see how that affects the interior later on. And going down the back, of course. So look here, there's a distinct, almost European feel to it here. See how much the tail light sticks out. Not so obvious on camera, but really obvious in person. And also, just like every other car today, fashionable car, there is a light bar at the back, full width light bar. So it's almost as if all the car designers of the past 5 years got together and said, we got a fever, and unique here is more light bar. So what else has a light bar? Kia Cerato has a light bar, Porsche Panamera, Porsche Taycan, Macan, Audi A7, and a whole lot of other cars. But to get back to the Harrier, overall, rather handsome looking car, very nice evolution from before. Okay, let's take a look at the boot space. There is an automatic tailgate. That is always useful. Here we go, we have our tonneau cover. Let's get that out of the way. Quite a lot of space. I think the official figure is about 400 liters. But the Harrier also has a slightly raised floor. Let's check out what's underneath the floor. Oh, okay. So there's a cargo tray here. Some nice insulation here. Flip this up, another bunch of tools. Let me see what's below the cargo tray. Oh, so you can take that out, spare tire, which is quite a rarity these days. Interesting. So I dare say some people would have enjoyed more boot space, but this is where the lips start. So although the boot is quite deep, you have to reach forward all the way in, and you can fold the seats down. The loading aperture is also quite high, so it's decent, but although it's not the best in terms of a mid-size SUV. Here we are in the rear seat of the Harrier. Now you mentioned that the Harrier is a mid-size SUV, so it's about the same size as, say, a BMW X3, and although it doesn't have quite the same wheelbase as that sort of car, the interior room is still pretty good. So let's look down here. I got pretty good knee room. This is my driving position as usual. If I lean back, headroom is not super. If I were to sit up, I would be quite near the headliner, something like that. Yeah, you'll also notice the sunroof, quite a nice touch as well. We'll get to that later. Okay, getting to the cockpit. Let's go. Cockpit. Alright, we shall start up the Harrier. Nice opening animation there. So you can see that Toyota has kept the two instrument dials and put a nice little 7-inch digital display there. And I must admit that I quite like this approach. Having seen a lot of virtual cockpits or digital instrument displays, they're quite nice at first sight, but you know, we're looking at screens all the bloody time nowadays. So having real dials, analog dials, is really quite a nice touch. And of course, these are the blue, these have blue needles because this is a hybrid. So you can see there, you know, if we're using our power, it'll be here. If we're driving nicely, this will be eco, and if we're braking or slowing down, it'll be going to charge. Alright, so I'll just run you through the information display right here, because there are a lot of things on board the Harrier. So first off, we have our eco display, as you can see from the leaf. This trip 4.3 liters per 100. We'll get to that as well later, but let's go through first. Okay, eco score. So I haven't really been driving. I just parked the car. So they don't show anything, but usually they'll tell you, okay, you were, you know, good on eco mode, you stopped well, you cruised, you didn't behave like a total jackass. Yep, this is your digital speedo. There is also a HUD, but it's very hard to get on camera, so I won't show you that. So this is our EV driving ratio. So we're at a standstill. Cars on EV power, as you can see from the EV indicator. So it's full electric power so far. Okay, let's scroll down. Driving support. So here we come to another very premium part of the Harrier, and that is the safety systems. And there are a heck of a lot of safety systems on board the new Harrier. Toyota Safety System Plus, that's what they call it. So right here we have one part of the safety system is active cruise control. So active cruise control, that means you can follow the car in front of you. You set it and it'll follow. This is the follow button showing you how much distance there is to the car in front. And it's also lane keeping assist. So let's scroll down. This is the Bluetooth audio. Got my Bluetooth running. Tire pressure monitor. Alright, so all the safety systems are being shown right here. So pre-collision system, that stops you from ramming into people if you're not paying attention. It'll warn you, and it'll also brake automatically for you to mitigate the impact. Okay, rear cross traffic alert, parking assist, blind spot monitor, all very normal stuff. We've seen it before, but all very useful to have. We recommend that you get it if you can have it. Okay, so these are all the on-off settings. So rear cross traffic alert. What that display didn't show was that we have rear cross traffic alert as well. We have radar cruise control as well. And we have the HUD, as I said, and all that. So I will say, in terms of safety, the Harrier has a very, very good loadout. And this TSS Toyota Safety System is standard across the board on all three Harriers, which is not always the case with some cars. So like in some cars, you pay a premium for the extra safety systems. The Mazda 3 Estina is an example of that. So maybe you can hear that the engine just came on because we're at a standstill on a hybrid. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take a look at the layout of the cabin. So from the right side, oh, nice little Harrier logo there embossed in the leather. This is all leather, nice gray, brown. This isn't wood, this is actually plastic, but it doesn't feel too bad if you don't look too closely. All in all, quite a nice presentation there. Nice switch gear as we expect from Toyota. Steering wheel, full leather here. Remote control buttons. Nice intuitive layout. We've already gone through that as well. Okay, so we have a 10.1 inch touchscreen. This has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as usual. I haven't hooked up Android Auto so you can't see it, but I tried it and it works, you know, just the same way. Nice high position. I don't have to look too far away from the road to deal with this. Although it is a little bit far, I kind of have to reach to touch it. But then again, you know, you really shouldn't be fiddling with your touchscreen while you're driving at all. But in terms of touchscreens and infotainment, it's pretty good and quite a big step up from what we've seen in previous Toyotas where the graphics aren't so sharp and it's quite laggy, but this is pretty good. So let's see, info. Just give you an idea of the sharp graphics. I'm trying to minimize the reflections here. energy. So right now we are running on engine power, discharging the battery, but you can look at the graphics and see that they're quite sharp and quite nicely presented. Okay, down here, a little bit dark, I hope you can see it. This is where your smartphone goes for charging. If you see that light change to orange, that means my phone is charging. We've got our power button here. We also have our aircon up here, and there's a little interesting feature about that. I'll show you in a minute. So down here we have our drive mode. We have a typical Toyota hybrid EV mode to force the car to go into EV mode, but you hardly will use that here unless you really want to be quiet. And drive mode, okay, so we go drive mode, we press this thing, we have eco, sport, normal, all very standard, very what we've seen before. But here's a cool trick. In eco mode, if there's no one in the seat next to you, the aircon will actually shut off and be driver only. So this aircon, right now it's not working, but this vent is working. Maybe you can hear that. Nice little touch there. Okay, but to get back to our question of, is this a Lexus in disguise? It's not quite a Lexus in disguise. It is a nice cabin. Very nice for a Toyota. We got our leather, logical layout, nice touchscreen and everything. But some parts obviously not quite up to the Lexus standard. Obviously, this stuff isn't made by a Takumi who can fold origami with his offhand within 30 seconds, that sort of thing. But it is very nice. But I will show you two things this car has that even Lexus cars don't have right now. So the first is the mirror, and this mirror is actually a digital rear view mirror. Let's flip that up. Really cool. So you're thinking, why the heck do I need a digital rear view mirror? Can't a normal one suffice? Well, the cool thing about this is that it's extra wide. So when you're driving, but when you drive, you can actually see, just for example, if you're in 3 lanes of traffic, you can actually see the 2 lanes next to you. This one, because of the car's styling, you can only see the rear view mirror. It's quite small, you realize. Again, a drawback of coupe-like styling, but I like that Toyota has put it in something to try and overcome that shortcoming of styling. And the second cool feature on the Harrier, I'll show you right now, is the automatic sunroof. So this can't move, it's a fixed panoramic sunroof, but if I press this button here, boom, it becomes clear. Don't know if you can see that, let me do it again. So it's not exactly electrochromic in the sense that it goes dark like a transition lens does. So some cars have had that before, notably the 2013 SLK, Mercedes-Benz SLK. That had a magic roof, they called it magic roof, that turned dark. This one goes dark, but it also goes frosted as well. Let's show you that again. Really cool. Dun. And these two features, the digital mirror and the, I don't know what the hell you call this, automatic sunroof frosted thingy, only appear on the luxury hybrid version of the Harrier. So how does the Toyota Harrier hybrid drive? Pretty well. So actually the secret is that this has a 2.5 litre hybrid system, and is actually the same system pretty much as on the Lexus ES300H. So we were talking about the whole, is this a Lexus thing? In terms of drivetrain, yes it is. And of course the platform, TNGA platform, shared with some of the Toyota models and also some of the Lexus models as well. Now as a Toyota hybrid at low speeds and in town, it is a really nice car to drive. Very smooth, very quiet, and also the suspension supports this. It's a little bit jiggly, but that is normal for hybrids, normal for SUVs, and normal for actually pretty much all cars nowadays. And I suspect half of that is because Singapore's roads are increasingly terrible and bumpy. So all that little stuff you will feel. And the car's a little bit heavy for being a hybrid, 1.7 tons. So when you go a little faster, you go over those little crests, you can feel the wheel going boom like that. That's not so well controlled, but that's, you know, maybe 5% of the time. You don't get that situation often. In day-to-day driving, it's quite quiet. The viewpoint's pretty good. The handling is good too. It's very, very stable. So in day-to-day driving, you know, it's a Toyota, it's a hybrid, and it's an SUV. So higher seating position, you can see more. Although the thick A-pillars, you know, that rake styling, that does block your vision a little bit. But it's nice cutouts, and the side view mirrors are kind of pushed to the side, so it's not that bad. But you know, you do, again, you see we do pay a price for styling, and Toyota has tried to overcome that in a thoughtful way as well. So that's nice. But handling wise, you know, very predictable, very stable. Actually, this car handles really well for what it is. You don't expect a Toyota hybrid SUV to handle like smoothly, well, not smoothly. You don't expect it to be agile and super darty or whatever, but this is very stable, very nice, very predictable, and you can add on speed and it just takes it and goes, okay, you know, I'm not panicking here, we can go faster if you want. So it used to be that some of the cheaper Toyotas would kind of give up the ghost and go, okay man, just run in the middle of the corner going at 80, yeah, you do you, whatever, I'm gonna give up now. They used to do that, but they're not like that anymore, so that's a nice touch. As for refinement, the car is decent but not super, so there is quite a bit of tire noise actually, and there is also a bit of vibration coming through the steering wheel when you're driving, especially when the engine is on, and there's a little bit of that low frequency rumble that comes through the tires. You can feel it in the cabin a little bit, you can feel it in the steering column as well, steering wheel as well. So that is not super nice in terms of refinement. So here's where I think really the difference between this car and a Lexus shows. So the Lexus, you know, they pile on the noise insulation, the sound insulation. They go to great lengths to make it very, very smooth. Although the hybrid system is smooth and the handover power is really, really seamless, when the engine comes on, you will know. And when you're going over bad roads, you also will know. But you know, 90% of the time, it's not such a bother. This car is decently refined and it handles very well for a mid-size SUV, a mainstream SUV. Okay, now we're going to talk about pricing and competition, and I mentioned that the Harrier isn't the cheapest car around. You know, Toyota mid-size SUV, you would expect it to cost less than 150 grand, or in this case 170 plus grand. That isn't a small amount of money here, especially not for a Toyota or, you know, any mainstream brand. But you know, as we've said, the car has always had this idea of being a more premium SUV and almost Lexus without the Lexus money, and I think there are a few things that support that argument, which is the way it drives and handles, the hybrid system's efficiency and refinement as well, and the huge amount of equipment you get, as well as the nice cabin layout. So it's not totally a Lexus. I think we made that clear in the cabin bits and that part we talked about the refinement there. So it's not exactly a Lexus, but it's really up there, I think above normal mainstream cars when it comes to refinement and certain things like presentation, as well as, of course, the way it looks. It's quite a good looking car as well. And here's another thing to consider, you know, even if you're not an environmentalist or someone who's particularly concerned about the environment, this is the first big hybrid, big, but I mean big, more than 1.8 liters. This is a 2.5 liter hybrid. This is the first big hybrid officially imported to Singapore by Borneo Motors, and that is a big deal, especially in the year 2021, where the VES makes hybrid cars more affordable. So this car, although it's a big big size SUV, it actually gets a VES rating of A2, and that's worth $15,000 off. So you know, who doesn't want to save $15,000? So this car would otherwise be, you know, close to 190 grand in that case. And the hybrid system really pretty much, it should be a draw to any buyer these days. Now, my mileage in this car, over more than 100 kilometers, I would say maybe 60-70% highway and about 40% urban. I got 4.3 liters per 100 kilometers, and that is below the official quoted figure 4.6. Now, only Toyota and Lexus hybrids have this magical ability to do that, and this is the latest generation of hybrid, the newest engine, very, very thermally efficient engine. Toyota's experience in hybrids really shows through here, and you know, if you were to do eco mode all the time, drive gently, you would easily do 3.9, 3.8 liters, which is amazing for a car like this. And to get back to the wider narrative, you know, this is the era of electrification. Everyone's Tesla this and plug in that. But really, if you really want to save petrol, save money, and possibly save the earth while doing it, a hybrid is the way to go. So you can have your luxury car with your cool features, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and all that stuff for, you know, crazily efficient, crazy fuel efficiency and I think that is a really good thing. So to sum up, is the Toyota Harrier hybrid a Lexus for less? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. In some ways, yes, hybrid system, quite refined, quite nicely presented, looks really cool, lots of tech features. No, not super refined in some ways. Cabin quality isn't as high a level as a Lexus, and obviously you don't have the Lexus image. But other than that, what you should be concerned with is the fact that this car is a hybrid and can do what it does, you know, almost magically. So that's all we have for you on the Toyota Harrier Hybrid. If you thought this video was interesting, please support us by liking, sharing, and visiting www.carbuyer.com.sg.